next stage for the first time in 20 years as the game is just about to get underway. The Netherlands in all orange, the Americans in all white this afternoon, or the evening time as it is in Qatar. It's myself, Steve Pearson, Jack Ogilvy, bringing you this independent off-tube studio commentary. Well, we've had the starters, which I think we all quite enjoyed. Time for the main course of the knockout stages. And Jack, talking off air, not really sure how this game's going to pan out, if I'm honest.
No, not at all. Obviously, you always expect total football from the Dutch, don't you? But it's not been the case at all in Qatar. Louis van Gaal, I think, has shown himself to be a very, very good coach again, because you look at the squad, it's pretty average. It's got a lot of good defenders, but not too much going forward. Cody Gakpo accepted, I would say, against the USA, who were great in the first half against Wales, brilliant against England, and very entertaining against Iran, but still inconsistent. It's the third time in 4 tournaments they've made the last 16. Surprised, I'd forgotten all about that, the way they've progressed over the last 4 years. But I have a feeling that the US are going to come out and go for this game, because the Dutch, for me, can be got at.
Absolutely, nothing to lose for either side now, of course. Into the win, or it's head to the airport time. With a lively start, just in the first few moments at least of the game. As Dest plays the ball out wide, finds Weyer, who will come back inside. He's forced back to the halfway line, but steady possession. Netherlands dropping in deep straight away to make sure there's no space in between defensive line and midfield. That forces the Americans back towards the halfway line, where captain Tim Ream will pick up possession. Man rolls it to the right hand side, and Zimmerman will play a long ball downfield. It's hooked away by Timber, but still not properly cleared. It's bouncing around inside the Dutch half, at least in the early stages of the game. Breaks on the left hand side. It will fall to Ferreira, pushes his way out, but at the moment America in the possession for the first minute or so of the game. The American side, Turner in goal, Dest, Zimmerman, Ream and Robinson the back four. Adams, McKennie, Musa, the midfield with Weyer, Ferreira and Pulisic leading the line. Ferreira into the side for the first time. So start before kickoff. He hasn't scored since September the 11th. He hasn't actually played a competitive game since the end of October. But, he is the man who will lead the line, at least for now, for the Americans, as they look to find a goal threat that perhaps has been missing to some extent over these group games. Steady but unspectacular their progress. The ball comes in from the right hand side into the penalty area for the first time. It's half cleared, hooked back in. Pulisic looks offside. He will get the shot in. The keeper makes a save. Flag has stayed down, at least for the moment, which I'm slightly surprised about, because it looked like Pulisic was offside. Noppert made the save anyway, and the ball is cleared, Jack.
It looked for all the world as if he was offside, but it was a good save by Noppert. Of course, one of the stories of the World Cup, only his 4th cap, and it's in the last 16 matches. An awkward clash between Denzel Dumfries and Anthony Robinson. It was a heavy touch by Robinson. Dumfries won the ball, and I think they tangled up. We're seeing again Destin from the right hand side. Tyler Adams loses out, then wins it, and in fact Daley Blind is playing the world on side there. He's way behind the rest of his defenders. You can see why Denzel Dumfries was stepping up, because everyone was out barring Daley Blind, who wasn't looking along the line, and that would have been costly.
Absolutely, he was outside. It was so far away. He was outside our screen when the ball came back into the penalty area, which is why we didn't realise there was another player on the far side playing him on. That's how far out on that left-hand side Blint was. As you say, clearly playing him onside when we see the pictures from the alternative angle. As Dest will chase down Van Dijk. It's like a small child trying to get the ball off one of his coaches. The training session, that one. The size of Van Dijk against Dest. The Dutch side, Louis van Gaal on our screens for the moment. First pictures of the two coaches. The Dutch side, Noppert in goal, Timber, Van Dijk and Ake are the back three, with Dumfries and Blind are the two wing backs, De Roon, De Jong and Klaassen the midfield, Depay and Gakpo the two strikers, as Pulisic tries to find space again through the centre. Can't do so this time. The ball is worked out on that left hand side, where Memphis Depay will battle for it, and he'll win a throw in just inside the American half. First real time that the Dutch have had the ball at their feet inside the American half in the early stages of this game. Bright start from the Americans. Holland have possession, at least for now, with the ball with Van Dijk at his feet. Roll it out to the right-hand side for Dumfries, who wants to play forward quickly, but McKennie is right in his face straight away, and there's a strong press here from the Americans, high up inside the Dutch half. Ake plays the ball to Blind, left-hand side. Netherlands do at least get up towards halfway. They look for a free kick that doesn't come, and the Americans with Ferreira will come back the other way. Weah in possession. A lot of orange shirts between him and goal, at least for the moment. Players in the centre now, if they can find a route in there somewhere along the line, as Musa tries to play a ball across, Weah will pick up possession. He's forced out of the penalty area, and the challenge comes in for Blind on Dest, and the ball is out of play for a throw-in. In the posh seat this afternoon is Mr. Infantino, rather than one of the legends of either of these two sides, as we've seen in there in the executive seats during these games. All out of play for a throw-in. Strong start from America, you'd say, Jack. Not too many chances created, but good first 5 minutes put the Dutch on the back foot.
They've enjoyed the better the possession, haven't they? It's been strangely passive from the Dutch so far. Very, very deep with the back three, and not so progressive when they have the ball. I suppose Memphis Depay and Cody Gakpo, you wouldn't say they're back to goal forwards. They want to be running with the ball or running onto it, don't they? But almost the perfect example there. The Dutch with a throw, no real options. Then Denzel Dumfries rather going long. He bounced a couple of times, but Walker Zimmerman had time on his hands just to nod it back to Matt Turner, because neither Gakpo nor Depay were putting him under any undue pressure.
Ream comes forward for America, and then the press comes at least a little from Blind to stop Dest from having an easy option, but then he just play an angled ball over to Pulisic, who now pops up wide on the left-hand side. Free-ranging role for Christian Pulisic as he tries to thread the ball down the line towards Robinson. Tackle comes in from De Vries, not quite sure whether it went out for a corner or a throw-in. Certainly a American ball somewhere along the line. We shall see now the ball did roll behind for the corner, and therefore Pulisic will have the first set-piece opportunity of the afternoon. Referee Wilton Sampaio is already in the faces of Van Dijk and others in the penalty area. The Brazilian official just making clear that he's got eyes on what's happening in there, as 6 American players all get into a big group just inside the penalty area. Ball is whipped in towards the far post. Ream can't get there. He's shepherded away from the ball on that occasion by Dumfries, and in the end it's a disappointing set piece. You could see what the plan there was, Jack, but just didn't work.
Yeah, they kind of petered out that, didn't it? We've seen Pulisic's earlier strike again, well saved by the legs of Nopper to spread himself well. 6'6", a big man in the goal. Back to that corner kick. It wasn't such a bad ball in. As you say, we could see what the plan was, but it's kind of petered out with no really attacking it. One duel I'm looking forward to seeing is Denzel Dumfries against Anthony Robinson, the player Robinson who's improved so much over the last 18 months or so. And Dumfries arguably the best in the world as a right wing back.
Yeah, ball over the top for Pulisic again, rather solo figure, but he gets a ball in. Ake heads it away. Ferreira will pick it up, but his pass goes astray. The opportunity for the Americans to put pressure on the Netherlands inside their own penalty area disappears as the ball is spun all the way back downfield. Will go back and tidy it up on this occasion. So America will start off slowly from inside their own penalty area. Draws against England and Wales, of course, in the group stages for the Americans before finally beating Iran to make it through to the knockout stages. Netherlands easing into the last 16 by beating the host Qatar by a couple of goals. And here come Netherlands on the attack for the first time on the break, down their left-hand side, picked up by Memphis Depay, drives into the penalty area, steps inside the first challenge, but then miskicks as he tries to play the ball across, and it's cleared away by America, released up towards McKennie. Still inside his own half though. Blind gets a toe end in. Van Dijk's just got to be quick, but Ferreira looks up, sees that Van Dijk is cruising towards the ball and decides not to chase on this occasion. Therefore the Netherlands could have had an easy outlet, but they've wasted a little bit of time before they finally got possession of the ball and haven't been able to get it up over the halfway line, at least in the early moments. But good chance there for Depay, and again a disappointing end to a promising position this time for the Netherlands.
Yeah, sorry Steve, it was a poor ball out by Tim Ream initially, wasn't it? Found Depay, who he looked oh so good when he got into the box. A couple of step overs, worked a yard on his right foot, went for goal, but then suddenly It looked like 3 months not playing too much, and Barcelona caught up with him. He struck it against his standing leg and it bundled away. But encouraging signs for the Netherlands. The first time they'd gone forward, they didn't get a shot on goal, but they got a shot away.
Certainly did. They're in possession. Into play. Gakpo gets his first touch, really, of the game and brings it forward out to the right-hand side. Ball comes across to Freaks onto the edge of the box, and there's the first goal of the afternoon. The strike comes in from Memphis Depay, unmarked, inside the penalty area. First chance that the Netherlands have had. First shot on goal, first goal. Netherlands 1, USA 0.
Absolutely, and you had to say the standout forward of all those on show today is Memphis Depay. And he showed it there, well worked by the Netherlands down the right hand side. Obviously a set move, Depay hanging back towards the edge of the box. No one tracked his run. I think there may be a bit of an inquest in the US midfield there, but Depay's there, he finds Gakpo. Dumfries keeps his width on the right hand side. Dumfries, you see him there, he's looking up, he always knows where everyone is. Back into Depay, who just walks onto the ball and whips it past Turner to his right hand side. Goalkeeper, absolutely no chance. It's a mighty finish from Memphis.
Certainly is. Really, really good. The power and the pace. We were a little bit critical of him a moment or two ago when he ended up kicking his own foot basically as he played the ball across, but that is superb technique. The ball comes across to him. He is unmarked. He's under no pressure whatsoever, but he's still got to get the shot right into the corner, and he gets the perfect side foot. Doesn't blast it, just nice and steady into the corner. Turner, as you say, not a prayer on that occasion. The Netherlands find themselves in front again, and those who are complaining about the way the side are defensive, well, they've been a little defensive first 10 minutes, but clinical when they've got the opportunity.
Clinical, and the questions now are, what have you got, United States? They only scored twice during the group stages, and as you mentioned, they've rotated the forwards. It's Ferreira today, decent record, 7 goals in now 16 caps for him, but still they are waiting for a real goal scorer to emerge out of the USA. They need a Pulisic and Timothy Weah to stand up now, because it's a silly thing to say, but they need a goal. But by the same token, you can't see the Dutch not scoring again.
Yeah, it seems to be the case at the moment for the Americans, that goals have been hard to come by. They've been solid, they've been energetic, well drilled. Tends to be the case and has been for the last couple of World Cups with the American side. It's that clinical cutting edge in front of goal, the efficiency around the penalty area that has been lacking. So it is so far in the early stages of this game, as the Netherlands find themselves then a goal up after 12 minutes, first of the knockout games. Argentina against Australia on this service a little later on this afternoon is the other offering. The first knockout games. Ball is played onto the right hand side. Robertson tries to go up for it. He misses it completely, so does Dumfries, and therefore the ball is out of play for an American throw-in midway inside the Dutch half, left hand side. Somebody to make a move. So the forward man struggling to find anybody offering, really. In the end, it's all the way back to Zimmerman, who's in the side today in place of Cameron Cardovikas. Two changes that America made, the other one enforced. Josh Sargent injured, therefore Ferreira came into the side. There was some discussion about whether he would have come in anyway, because of the striking problems that they've had. Here comes Pulisic again, left hand side. Can he get a decent ball in? It's slightly behind. It flicks off a defensive heel. Weah will tidy it up and keep possession, but then Dest has lost out. And the Dutch will be able to clear upfield. And again, they're off really, really quickly. The ball through to Gakpo. He just can't quite take it in his stride. Now he finds 2 or 3 Americans around him, but he still manages to play the ball back to Depay, midway inside the American half. His vision is good as he sees Daley Blind on that left-hand side. The momentum of the attack has gone, as De Jong is forced to turn back towards his own goal, but the Netherlands back in possession, and therefore in control of the situation. That's exactly where they want to be, leading by a goal to nil as Van Dijk rolls the ball forward. De Roon is there. De Roon and De Jong are the kind of solid midfield two that you now want in this situation from a Netherlands point of view. You've got the goal, the early goal, you've got yourself into a positive situation. Now, when you need to, you can dig in.
Absolutely. We saw there that we've got good names at the back, haven't they? But collectively, they're not quite gelling, so you need De Roon and De Jong to screen the side. It's going to be interesting, I think, with England tomorrow, isn't it? How Gareth Southgate sets up in the game against Senegal. Does he switch to a back three and a double pivot, maybe with a view to future games? Obviously, we'll be looking ahead to further matches, looking beyond Senegal, but it looks like Louis van Gaal started playing the way he would have liked to have played, but now he's gone back to a more pragmatic approach with De Roon and De Jong in the middle of the park, and with Klaas in front of them, who might not be the most technically gifted, but again, he's someone who's going to work for the team and dig it out, and that's what you need in the knockout stage of the tournaments.
Certainly was. Just looking at the early stats of the game, we're going up to the goal. 90% of the play had been either in the middle of the field or in the attacking third as far as America were concerned. As the Netherlands who have been ruthless in front of goal. 2 trips into the penalty area so far for Netherlands, both involving Depay. The second one leading to the first goal of the afternoon. Is picked up by Blind again inside his own area, comes back, inside his own half rather I should say, comes back to O.A.T. Those two will play around, and for the moment the American press is rather passive across the field. Netherlands not being forced out, they have been forced backwards if nothing else. Now the American press starts to liven up a little as McKennie comes across, but the Dutch get the ball up towards the halfway line. Gakpo won't be able to get on this one, neither will Depay. It's always likely to be Zimmerman who was there first. He hooks it back to his keeper, Matt Turner. So the goalkeeper has had a pretty decent group stages. Seen the one opportunity flash past him at the moment. Other than that, I don't think he's touched the ball except for a couple of back passes. 15 minutes gone, Netherlands 1, America 0. Americans in possession, now struggling to find space. See a little bit of frustration just coming out there from Robinson, that there's not much movement around him, and it's just gone a little bit static now, hasn't it? Netherlands have got themselves back into position, they've got themselves in front, and the Americans are struggling to work out how it's going to play from now on.
Yeah, they're happy to drop into the shape, aren't the Dutch? That's a lovely touch by Robinson.
Yeah, great turn away, drives down towards the edge of the penalty area, tries to thread a pass through, and maybe he could have taken it himself, decided instead to look for somebody else, and it flicks off a defensive heel and is cleared away up to Depay on the halfway line. Klaassen has possession, but again the Dutch will go backwards, comfortable playing across the back three at the moment in possession. As Timber comes forward again, up towards the halfway line at walking pace, and when he can't see a way through, he'll just turn backwards again, and they'll start off again with Van Dijk. Change the angle again for O.A.T. It's almost a kind of tease to the Americans to say, okay, come on, you want the ball, you've got to come and find it. We're not going to drive in and give it you quite simply here. American press starts to come on as the Dutch head towards halfway. It's cleared forward this time, Reed heads it away, but then America loses it through the middle, and Gakpo can race down towards the edge of the penalty area. He rolls into the path of Blind, who has to rather snatch at the shot in the end. The pass didn't quite have the pace on it that he needed, and in the end he can only lift the ball up high and wide over the goal.
Like you say, he didn't have the pace he needed there, so he had to do something special. He's leaning back inside of his right foot, looking for the far corner, but not testing Turner. In truth, from Daily Blind, as well, we're not in the stadium, of course we've been opting studio commentary, but the first signs of the Mexican wave, which is sometimes quite the indictment of the game.
Yes, can be. I don't think this has been that. I don't think this has been a Mexican wave game yet.
No.
I wouldn't say, but anyway, the fans have taken matters into their own hands. The ball is down the right hand side with Dest. He puts the ball in towards the near post, but nobody really attacking that area at all from the American side of things, and Noppert is able just to wander forward to the edge of his 6-yard box, flops on the floor, and will now wait as long as he can before he finally puts the ball onto the ground. Lilac goalkeeping kit this afternoon. He'll have possession again now, under a little bit more pressure though, as Pulisic comes in, but it's worked out to Timber on this right hand side, who wants to go forward straight away. He checks and finds Dumfries up towards the halfway line. Dumfries will get it back here, but he can't force his way past a couple of challenges. The ball is out of play for a throw in for Robinson again on this left hand side. Most of the American play down the left in this first 18 minutes or so of the game. Pulisic has predominantly come out onto this left hand side, Weah predominantly on the right, and therefore Robinson has been heavily involved in the attacks that America have started off. He'll pick up possession now again in front of his coach. He runs the ball forward down the line. He's allowed to run quite a long way as McKennie tries to flick it on into his path, but just gets a little bit too much on the angle this time, and it bounces away before Robinson can get there. But you kind of look at this side so far, Jack, and you can see one or two gaps around behind fullbacks, the kind of usual places you'd expect to see those opportunities. So there is glimmers of hope for the Americans as they come forward.
Absolutely. With the Dutch playing a back three, there's always going to be space behind the right wing back and in front of the right wing back. We're seeing Robinson push forward. Pulisic should get a couple of opportunities. I thought that ball was actually not a bad one, but Pulisic turned his back on the play, so Robinson had to continue his run where it could be quite close to Pulisic. The game is certainly not done for the Americans. You do fancy the Dutch the quality of that goal they scored. You do fancy them to get another, but still, by the same token, they're certainly not concrete at the back, are they? They're offering up chances. There's almost last-ditch headers going on at the moment. No one's even wanted to take control. There was an offside flag in amongst all that, but it's not neither confident nor competent at the back, is it, for the Dutch?
No, you don't feel totally secure in terms of that back five at the moment. As 20 minutes tick by in this game, Netherlands 1, USA 0. The goal coming on 10 minutes from Depay. Two really clear-cut chances we've seen so far, one to either side. There might be another one here as Ream doesn't get to the ball. Depay will try a shot from the angle, and not surprisingly, Gakpo and one or two others in the middle say, well, come on, hang on, there was a better option there, Memphis. But on this occasion, he took the opportunity to take the strike well wide of the right-hand upright.
Well, Gakpo was almost stunned, wasn't he, that he took the shot on? It almost didn't compute at first. He looked confused when he looked at Depay. It was one of those, he just sat up for him and he thought, oh, what a goal this would be. But it was a fearsome angle. The goalkeeper was always going to have the advantage there. And happy to see it bundle past his right post. But I was saying the gaps are in behind the full-backs or the wing-backs for America when they attack the Dutch. A bit of a similar story behind Robinson. They seem to be looking for that Frank de Boer to Dennis Bergkamp ball, don't they, left to right?
Yeah, it seems to be one of the options, certainly, that they're doing to try and pull away from those two central defenders at the moment. Possession starts showing that just about even, slightly in favour of the Netherlands, but only just. As Pulisic looks for a free kick that doesn't come, and therefore the Dutch will come forward. The ball forward towards Gakpo is a little overhit. Zimmerman can get across, although his clearance ends up hitting the Netherlands striker. Unfortunately for the American defender, it bounces behind for nothing more than a goal kick. Turner will take quickly towards Dest on that right-hand side. Comes to McKennie. On again to Tyler Adams, who's not been able to get his foot on the ball at all in this game. But he's also not had too much to do from a defensive point of view, although there will inevitably be a question about who was picking up between McKennie and Adams on the edge of the penalty area when Depay ran into the box and picked up possession deep to get his strike in on goal. For the moment, Robinson in possession for America, gets it to Musa, back again to Adams, who looks to try and play a ball through, but there's no real option out there. Blind is sitting in that left wing back spot to make sure there's no easy outlet as America try and look for Pulisic again down the left hand side. Timber comes across to cover, he can clear it away, but only out for a throw in. Just about 5-10 yards away from the corner flag. Robinson comes forward again to take it. Musa will come in short to pick up possession from him. Try and thread it through to Robinson again, but not on the same wavelength on that occasion. The ball easily cleared by Van Dijk, but immediately picked up by Ream again as Gakpo looks for a free kick again. The referee Wilton Sampaio says no, back on your feet. No real pressure on the referee in terms of decisions so far. Very straightforward from both sides. Weah now in a deep lying role in midfield, have been pushing out wide on that right hand side, but suddenly he pops up deep, then he heads off back to a more usual position as he gives it to McKennie. Ake stops the ball through. McKennie was looking for into the penalty area, and Klaassen will bring it away. That's a poor ball by him though. In the end it's tidied up, all back to the halfway line, so we're halfway through the first half. To Jack to take you through to half time.
Yeah, thanks to Serginho Dest for Ajax, and of course with Dutch connection in the Netherlands. Playing it right to Weston McKennie. Wants to come inside onto his left foot, back to Tim Weah. Getting more of a say over the last couple of moments. It's the occasion of his 29th cap. The Leo man has played at right back this season for the French side, but very much an attacking player as Daley Blind steps in, intercepts, and first time finds Memphis Depay just inside US territory. red-footed, right-footed boot over the ball, should I say. Finds an orange shirt. You have to say it's a pretty obvious tactic, and obviously a lot from the Dutch. Very safety first. If you can't go forwards, happy to go backwards. As Daroon gives it to Klaassen, who plays it round the corner, looking for Denzel Dumfries, who stoops, trying to keep the ball in. Greg Berhalter, the 49-year-old US coach, 44 caps. 2018, played 2 World Cups as well. Big job to feel on his hands. A big job coming up over the next 4 years, of course. The US, the co-hosts of the next World Cup 2026, alongside Canada and Mexico, both sides who failed to make the last 16. Mexico, the first time in its 8 tournaments, isn't it? Made it 7 tournaments in a row through to the last 16. Now it was lucky to see their game in Saudi Arabia the other night, and they were sensational in the second 45 minutes. Just don't know what they're doing for the previous 235. McKennie, he loses out to Memphis Depay. Now Frankie de Jong ambles as he does. Goes past one, goes past two, then gives the ball away. Walker Zimmerman will go back and then find Tyler Adams. It's quite interesting the way the game is being played at the moment. It's almost been 30-yard space. The Dutch are pushing up. America want to put the press on, so it's all very, very tight. Zimmerman has it just inside his own half. We'll find Tim Ream, the Fulham captain, looks up. He's happy with the ball at his feet. Adams now, another Fulham man. Robinson comes inside. Pulisic. The players combining. Musa of Valencia wanted it. Take your first ball back to Zimmerman. Besides today for Cameron Carter-Vickers, you wonder if that's for his extra height, both defending and attacking set pieces. Matt Turner, the Arsenal man, will fire it into Robinson. It's the most sympathetic of passes, neither is that one back to Tim Ream, and eventually do go back to Turner, whose first touch is flicked it out of his feet and almost flicked into the path of Memphis Depay.
Yes, that was a shocking trampoline first touch, that one, wasn't it? He managed to get the toe end under it and push it about 5 yards in front of himself. You could see the panic in his face, even on the TV screens that we're looking at. He didn't need a close-up for that one to see the reaction, but got away with it. And America on the drive-through, they've got to move the ball quicker. It's too slow from the USA at the moment. Dutch, as you said, you know how they're going to play. It's nice, simple, it's really comfortable stuff, but they're not getting out either. You know, they're losing possession easily. America are pressing well. They've got to be sharper and quicker around the attacking third, particularly.
Yeah, decision making is not quite there for the Americans at the moment. They seem to pass when they need to dribble and vice versa. Frankie de Jong actually weighted ball through to Memphis Depay. America got a 3-on-2 advantage, but Depay, Gakpo, now Denzel Dumfries. Dumfries at the back post. Just wouldn't quite sit for Depay as he looked across it. He's still got the ball inside the box. Daily Blitz with him, as is Frankie de Jong. He wrestles with Walker Zimmerman, who gets the final touch of the first corner kick of the game.
Yeah, it was, as you say, the opportunity was Dumfries, wasn't he? He was doing a similar run to the one that Depay scored from, where he was just holding back, waiting for the ball around the edge of the penalty area. But as I said, Depay didn't really get his head up when the opportunity was there. By the time he did, it was more difficult. And then, as you said, he lost the possession, but still got the corner kick, as you say. Big man up from the back, of course. Obvious threat here from the Dutch.
Of course, the Dutch's first corner kick of the game. The US have already had one. Gakpo thinks towards the penalty spot. Ake and Van Dijk got in each other's way. The last touch came off a US player, according to Wilton Sampaio, the referee, who is a good omen for the Dutch. He did their game against Senegal, a 2-0 victory, and if you like an omen, his other game was also a 2-0 scoreline. Poland against Saudi Arabia this time last week, in fact, wasn't it? Gakpo will again deliver from the left-hand side to an in-swing of his right foot that appears behind over man. 3 goals so far. Both arms up, using his back post, that doesn't it? Near post, in fact. It's Zimmerman who gets the header away. Frankie de Jong picks up. He then whips it in towards the far post, and Denzel Dumfries, who's 6'2", maybe even 6'3", but he's not tall enough to get on to the end of that. Stretching out a long leg. He could make it out for a goal kick. We've seen a replay of the Dutch goal. Dumfries' ball Dumfries. The impressive thing for me about Dumfries is he was running forward. But as he was running forward, he was always looking inside. He knew where everyone was, picked out the pie, and a lovely whipped finish into the goal.
Yeah, it's really easy to pick players out with these two kids, isn't it, as well? I know it sounds silly, but it's really obvious when one player from either side is in space, even if he's surrounded by the opponents. Even a quick glance will give you that option as well. Just seeing the stats on the shot, as it were, the maximum speed of 109 kilometres an hour on that side foot, which gives you some idea of the pace of the ball as it was put across and the pace that it was turned towards goal as well. And here comes De Vries again.
Staking midfield by America. Dumfries tries to play the same ball, this time back to Gakpo. Daley Blind was making a run from left wing back as well. Tyler Adams keeps it in poorly as well. He only finds David Clarkson, but Robinson steps in, tries to set the break up. Ferreira, was he fouled in there by Jurien Timber? Throws his arms up in, I would say, mock innocence. And, the Brazilian official was on the case there. We're seeing it again. It's a bit of a kick at Ferreira's ankles. Ferreira, we mentioned, they've trialled other strikers in this competition so far. He's not had much to feed on, has he?
Now, you kind of get the feeling there's one or two of the American side trying to come in to make something happen. You know, why is Ferreira so deep? Again, here we see him, he's dropping right into the midfield, almost alongside Adams, to offer for the ball. Well, no, I want Ferreira up front. I think they're trying to pull Van Dijk or somebody away so that there's space then behind for somebody else to exploit. But, you know, Van Dijk has seen it all before, and he's not going to come that close to him because he knows he's no threat so far away from goal. So I think there's a little bit of naivety from one or two of the American players at the moment as they're coming in trying desperately to make something happen after half an hour, because it's not really happened to them since the first 5 minutes, and the stats and the history are against them. They've never won a World Cup game when they've gone behind. 5 draws though, so if you're looking for penalties and extra time, there is still hope for the Americans. But if you're looking for it from the history for them to come back to at least a 2-1, then the stats in the previous games say not.
Yeah, so it's a very inexperienced team, you'd say, as well, for the Americans. Not necessarily in caps, but age in their midfield. Tyler Adams, 23, Musa, 20, McKennie at 24. Compare that to the Dutch. Some of their players, of course, playing their first World Cup after missing out in 2018. But Klaassen, 29, De Jong, 25, De Roon, 31. Linton Depay amongst those survivors from 2014. It's been a strange time for the Dutch, gone through coaches, gone through players, and Louis van Gaal, unbeaten since taking over, has done what a number of his predecessors, including the man sat to his left on the bench, Danny Blind, father of Daley, the assistant, couldn't do as national team boss, and just found a way of winning games, it seems, as McKennie breaks the lines, keeps the ball in as well as a heavy one from Dest. Timothy Weah, now 30 yards out, he's gone backwards as the little man. 1-2 between himself and Dest, and now Tyler Adams, the skipper, dropping deep. US on the hunt for a first World Cup quarter-final since 2002. Japan and South Korea losing to Germany on that occasion at 1-0. An action-packed team, I suppose, famously beating Portugal in their first match. It's one of my memories of that tournament. Actually, like everyone else, got up early for the games in Japan and South Korea as Nat Turner, the Arsenal goalkeeper, playing for the US, rolls it to Tim Ream, and they need something to the Americans here. They're just lacking that bit of penetration. They're not playing with the energy. You inevitably look at the bench. The one that brings my attention straight away is Brendan Aronson, someone who's going to pick up the ball and drive through the midfield and take opposition players out of the game.
Yeah, it's odd, really, isn't it? It's very static from America. Lots of possession, you know, some nice little passes inside, but there's no aim to it. It seems very pointless at the moment. And every time I see Greg Berhalter on the sideline, he seems to be pointing where the next pass is going to go. Now, whether that's him talking himself through it, in his own head, or how much he's actually talking through the players, but it strikes you. It almost looks like a coach with a young, really, really young set of players, like an under-8s or under-9s. Okay, let's have a look over there. Now look for your next option and that kind of thing. You can see him again. He's pointing where it should be. You can see that Ware's got an angle. I agree with him. There is space on that far side, but it's very pedestrian from the Americans. After such a bright first 5 minutes, when they were very quick, very sharp, moved the ball fast, found the gaps, they now seem to have dropped back into a nervous style of play for some reason.
They do as well. As Robinson sweeps it forward, it's a heavy touch. However, and now De Jong can turn his ball towards Dumfries' wasteful. Just a couple of tactical points. I know they've been anything but praised at home, the Dutch, for the defensive style of play, but every time the US have the ball, it seems the nearest 3 shirts are orange ones. And also, when you've got a player like Jurien Timber who can play anywhere, it looks like they've switched the formation. He seems to have dropped into midfield when they don't have the ball, so they've got a back four and an extra man alongside Frankie de Jong and Martin de Roon in there, and Davy Klaas. It's almost like a diamond. So Louis van Gaal has obviously identified that the Americans are going to try and play through the middle, so he's got as many bodies in there as he can get.
Yeah, and at this stage, they've never had a spell of this game where they've dominated, have they, the Dutch, so far. The goal came largely out of the blue after one attack. They've had no spell of possession inside the American half at all. They haven't needed to in that sense because it's been so passive from the American side as well. And yes, you can look at that as saying it's boring. Yeah, as a neutral, we want it end to end, we want it 4-3 by the end of it. But at this stage of the tournament, you're into quality games against quality opposition. You are going to have to be efficient around the penalty area. You're not going to create lots of chances in a lot of these games. Every now and again we get one that's really open, but most of the time that's not the case. And as Louis van Gaal said to one of the journalists yesterday, if you don't like it, well, go home then, because at the end of the day he's winning. This is a coach who's been unbeaten in 11 World Cup matches. One of only 3 coaches to do that in history. So it can be as dull as you like, but it's effective for this Dutch side. It fits the side that he's got in front of him in that sense. And you talk about the Americans being comfortable in their own skin and playing to their own strengths, as we have done in this World Cup and in previous World Cups. Well, the Dutch are doing the same here, and these are a very difficult side to beat because of that.
And I know the mind does wonderful things when you look back at certain events, doesn't it? But you think back to Spain 2010, Germany 2014, France 2018. You think, they must have been wonderful free-flowing sides. Not if you were watching the games. They were winning matches, and that's all they were there to do. And the Dutch seem to have that very similar mentality as they did in 2014, where they just always had a plan and stuck to it and were lucky not to reach the final. Here is Musa though for America. Pulisic gets in behind. Robinson digs towards the back post. Daley Blintz there and beats Serginho Dest. And McKennie will rescue it on the right hand side, around about 25 yards out from the Dutch goal. It's going backwards, and the toe poker to Tim Ream. All the US players, barring the goalkeeper Turner, are in the Dutch half, but we're seeing it here. The Dutch are all pushing up as a unit, and the US having to go back into their own territory. Robinson's had to come inside because Pulisic is hugging the touchline, and Musa's also quite wide, so the left back was playing as an inside left on that situation. McKennie, Ream, that's a nice disguised ball into Musa. Musa can turn as well. Little ball to Barrera. Lynn just steps in, as he has done so often in this game and throughout his career really, but there's a bit of space for Pulisic down the right hand side. He'll make his way into the box. You've got Denzel Dumfries and Jurien Timber for company. It's Timber who makes the good block, but even then Pulisic, asking for him to go past his man, but it seems to be down to walking pace, and I think Pulisic is quick, but I'm not sure he's as quick as Timber or Dumfries. He needs to be mentally quicker than them rather than physically, you feel, in those situations. As Timber steps in, it's a bit untidy. It'll be a US ball again. Tim Ream has to go backwards to Tyler Adams, who go back to Zimmerman, who go back to Turner, and just like that the US have lost 60-70 yards of territory.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, they're being forced to turn around. Then the simple ball, not unlike the Dutch, is backwards. You know, it's the same thing the Dutch were doing in the first half, in the first part of the first half, I should say. When you know, as you said, you know, it's a simple thing. Is you can't find a ball forward, you'll go backwards. So that's fine. It's fine when you're in front, but when you're chasing the game as the Americans are, this is not where they want to be. As you say, they can have the ball inside the Dutch half, but not in an attacking place. They can be forced back and have lots of possession, but it's all 30 yards from their own goal. There seems to be an option here for Weah and Dest to find space on that right-hand side behind Blind. Blind's going walkabout sometimes. He's drifting inside. He's going upfield. There are spaces in behind him, but they're not pushing that right-hand side. I think there's a big option here for the Americans to quickly get the ball out right and find space, but at the moment there's too many players being pulled into a central position, which is exactly where the Dutch want them to be. The Americans have got to spread this play, and Weah has started to recognise it. He's popped back out onto the right-hand side last minute or so. For the last 20 minutes he's been in a central position and not really been any use to anybody because he's not got any space in there.
There's a real mismatch as well, isn't there, as far as pace goes? Davy Blind and Timothy Weah and Serginho Dest, as you say, Blind has been stepping in. He is going wide on this occasion. Weah has gone almost back into right back. Serginho Dest has come in now. Anthony Robinson has it. He's got Pulisic to his left-hand side. Pulisic takes it somewhat on his heels and has to go back to Tim Ream. Tim Ream will reverse the play rather, and work it to Robinson. Touch side wasn't the best. Serginho Dest, Steve's doing a very good impression of the tactics board here. He's pointing where Serginho Dest needs to be because, well, he's on the pitch but he's out of the game. There's so much space in the US right back spot, and maybe it's a tactic, Steve, because Pulisic is holding the left, we're the right. Robinson and Dest are coming inside, but that's almost nullifying them. But that's what they wanted to do. Inside to Dest, and we're on the outside. Right edge of the box, makes it, he slips. Ferreira turns, back to Pulisic. Wide is Robinson, poor ball towards Robinson. He'll rescue it. Dumfries follows him. Robinson makes half a yard. It fizzes off the thigh of Dumfries and into the hands of Noppert, who had to make an early save, but hasn't had much to do since then. That was obviously what they're working on. It was a really nice move because Weah had gone, Blind was nowhere near him. I think Ake is a really smart selection by Louis van Gaal, actually playing on the left-hand side of that back three, because he covers left back. He's got pace as well, hasn't he? But that's the first time maybe we've seen the US have a bit of tactical joy as much as anything.
Yeah, I still don't understand why Weah was playing full-back and Dest was playing winger. It should have been the other way around. But anyway, we got to where we want to be. And this is what they want. Look where Ake is now and Blind. The gap is in behind them. There's a big space now in between them, which isn't there when America are playing the ball around on the halfway line. So you've got to move Nathan Ake. You say he will cover, that's great, but he leaves space in behind him that you can then exploit, and all of a sudden the Americans have got the ball right hand side 2 or 3 times before half time. I don't know whether Greg Berhalter has put that message out or whether they've just picked it up themselves. As Weah gets a strike in, good one as well. Noppert pushes it away back to Weah.
Yeah, and he was looking towards the back post, I think, there, but he dragged his cross away by David Klaas. That was a good effort by Weah and a good save by Noppert. Strikes it well, gets his head over, really good technique from the Lille man, but the US starting to enjoy a bit of territory now. Ferreira's gone wide to receive the throwing off Dest, who goes inside. Bodies are lacking in the middle. Weston McKennie could be an option. He's worked back to Musa. And now Tyler Adams and Tim Ream again. US going backwards. Walker Zimmerman then tries to fire a ball forward. There was a bit of pressure, trying to squeeze it out towards Dest, but it's too strong. We're going to get another chance to see that Weah strikes it really cleanly and purely. It's a save you'd expect Noppert to make going down to his left-hand side.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to see it coming through, doesn't he? But it's really good technique again, as you've seen that from a few players in this tournament so far. Awkward bouncing ball, but gets right over the top of it, drives through it, keeps it low and forces Noppert into the save as well. So the other reason I want to see the Americans on the right is because my eyes are drawn to the assistant referee on that side, who is putting on one hell of a performance. I know he's called Bruno. I don't know which one of the two Brunos it is, because both the assistant referees are called Bruno. But he is the most expressive assistant referee I've seen for many a long hour. And he's also not hugging the touchline. He drifts away. He goes wherever he wants on that sideline with all the space. He's absolutely fascinating me for the last 10 minutes or so of this game, while the Americans have been, sort of passing the ball around in midfield. He's putting on a hell of a performance out there.
Very much playing a free role, isn't he, as Dest inside. Great play by Dest. He gets into the box, needs to get the shot away. It was just stuck under his feet. Klaassen and Blint will work it away between them. Depay, nice flick, and Blint actually gets away from Tyler Adams, who was guilty of diving in there. Ream wanted Turner to come get the ball, but now he's one-on-one with Gakpo, who wins the battle of strength. Gakpo then plays it between the legs of the Fulham defender. Another Fulham defender comes back and turns on it. And Lewis can now build from the back. It's a poor ball by Tyler Adams, though. Serginho Dest having to go backwards. And the first time, really, you feel that Greg Berhalter preaches a very collegiate atmosphere. Everyone's happy, everyone's getting along, everyone's positive. But the first time we saw Tyler Adams throw his arms up in frustration, I think he was blaming the man, whoever he was aiming the ball at there. But for me, it was a poor ball by Adams. It should have been forward.
Yeah, and there's just a little bit of that coming in. There's a bit of frustration because they can't find any space. The possession is comfortable for America. In fact, you look at the stats now, possession has suddenly gone up above 60% for the Americans. It was about even after the first 20 minutes. So they have totally dominated the possession of the last 25 minutes, but created one chance, 1 minute of stoppage time to be played.
Yeah, that's a rare occurrence, isn't it? As Denzel Dumfries breaks down the right-hand side, looks to whip it in. Tim Ream steps across, makes the block. It'll be a Dutch throw, and about level with a penalty spot down there right. They're going left to right in this first half as we're looking at our TV pictures. Independent of Tube Studio commentary. Daroon flicks it back to Dumfries, who takes on his chest. Ferreira's back there, then Klaassen to Daroon, and Daley Blind. It's almost a carbon copy. It's 2-0 to the Dutch. Daley Blind, he was close earlier on. It was taken off his toes by a teammate, and this time it's Blind who finishes home. He points to Wout Weghorst, I think, who gives him a big hug. And the Dutch have got, well, maybe 1 foot, maybe 2 in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and as you say, it's like a replay, isn't it? You cannot describe it in any other way except carbon copy. Absolutely the same move. Work down the right-hand side. Space on the edge of the penalty area. Nobody picking up the runner again. Comes from the throw-in. Again, it's rather passive defending from America. They don't get possession. And Blind just wanders across the penalty area, not picked up at all. Defender is passive, isn't he? Dest. He's not reactive. He's not covering the space. He sees the run, doesn't really move towards him. By the time he does, opportunity is gone. The ball is pulled back into that percentages area again. As you said earlier on, it's a work move for the Netherlands. They're frequently putting the ball into that space and finding that gap, scoring the goal. And as they do so, the half-time whistle blows, and it's the Netherlands who take the advantage of the break by 2-0. 2 changes rather unexpected, although of course with extra substitutions available to all the coaches these days. 2 changes to leave a fair hand to play from the bench should they require it. And here come the Dutch with space. Depay will drive forward through the centre. He'll be allowed to go right down to the edge of the penalty area. He pushes the ball into the path of Bergwijn, a little bit too far in the end. Ball back in, it's flicked back across, but Ream is there first time to clear it away upfield towards McKennie, who can't find a pass through, but he does get the ball back and he pivots away from left to right. Heads off down that right-hand side. There's a good ball towards Weah. There's nobody really attacking the penalty area yet, though, as Weah has to keep possession therefore, and that allows Ake a little bit of time to get back, make the challenge and push the ball behind for the first corner of the second half.
Well played by Ake, but that was better in transition by the US. They were far more direct. McKennie going past his man and finding Weah, who does seem to be the best of the US players today. That change with Reina coming on, Ferreira going off. Looks like Pulisic is going to play down the middle in the second half. It'll be he who takes his corner kick.
Yeah, from the right-hand side, lifts it high towards the far post. McKennie gets there. Can Ream get there? He can, but it's cleared off the line as Noppert can't clear the ball away and make the save. It bounces behind him, but it's hooked away as Pulisic puts the ball back into the box. McKennie with a header. This one just loops harmlessly into the hands of the Dutch keeper.
Again, unconvincing the back by the Dutch, but that was a real chance for America. Decent ball in, it's won by McKennie, and it almost sits up for Ream. The goalkeeper makes a nuisance of himself and does well to clear. Not concrete at the back, you have to say, the Dutch, but now they're back in possession in the game. They like to. Bergwijn looks like he's gone straight up top, doesn't he, alongside Depay, and Gakpo in his more preferred position, I would say, of playing off the front.
Yeah, just dropping in on this popped up on the right hand side. He's got space here if he could find a way through, but he can't. Just for the moment, it was Gakpo himself who was on the line, clearing the ball away from behind his goalkeeper, so he's been applauded for his play up front. The ball is in towards the near post. I think it may have come off the defender, but Turner still had to make the save. The second ball is hooked away before Depay can get in there, and Dutch win it back again midway inside the American half, but there's a handball in there. The referee will give a free kick to the USA, but Turner had to be sharp. I think this from De Vries, ball across. I think it comes off the defender. It does. Comes off Zimmerman. Turner just has to react to it. Unfortunately, Dest is there to hook it away.
Zimmerman got himself in a poor position there, doesn't he? Got himself the wrong side of Depay. Had to make the call and make the move, try and clear it. He cut the contact, but only angling in at the near post. It's a good save by Matt Turner, who applauds his teammate, but it could have been an embarrassing moment for Walker Zimmerman, who's had a difficult game. That right-hand side of the US defence, him and Serginho Dest have had not really covered themselves in glory.
5 minutes gone and we've seen more attacking from both sides than we saw in a lot of the first half in this second period. Netherlands 2, USA 0 still at the moment. Americans on the front foot with Dest. Right corner of the penalty area. Nothing to lose now from them, although that's not the best option really from Dest. He stepped inside, did have players making angled runs across the penalty area, but he went for the left-footed shot in the man from Milan, and it goes well away from the right-hand post. And again, options around the penalty area not always the best from the Americans so far.
No, I think that's the first we've had in this World Cup finals where it's gone off for a throw-in from a shot. Seeing the replay of Daley Blind's goal, he goes and celebrates with his dad on the bench, who gives him a fatherly point of the finger and probably suggests, "I told you so there, son." As the Dutch get back on it. You had to say the US are maybe playing a bit more of a territory game now. They're pushing themselves further up the field. They need to start creating chances, though. Tim Ream was oh so close to toe poking it home earlier in the half, and the chances are there, but the Dutch, I think there's those 2 goals to sum it up what state of mind they're in. They're just so tactically sharp.
So the ball is picked up by Robinson right on the left-hand side. He goes to the run from McKennie, who manages to force it into the path of Pulisic. And down towards the edge of the penalty area, tries a shot. Doesn't really get any power on it though from 20 yards out, and Noppert will drop on the ball. It's a save for the Heerenveen keeper. see Pulisic had a look across, didn't really see there was too much in there, and got his head down for the strike, but it's going to have to be something spectacular to beat a in-form Noppert from that situation. Again, it's that final choice is not the right one again from another American player.
Yeah, Lee Van Gaal will be happy to see the Americans shooting from that distance, edge of the box. Good technique as well by the goalkeeper. Getting one leg down and one leg covering, and no chance of it spilling in the goal behind him.
Robinson gets a challenge in, Musa's in there as well. Can he keep the ball in play? Does really well, slides across, gets it in there and gets away from a couple of players as well. Great play by Musa inside his own half, and a good ball as well from McKennie. If it'll just hold up for Rayner, it will. He just keeps it in left hand side. Plenty of American players forward now as they try and open the game up. Onto the edge of the box from McKennie. Shot comes in from distance, but he can't keep it down. And again, it's another disappointing finish from a good position for an American opportunity.
It is better for the Americans though. Good play down the left hand side. Gio Reyna, similar to in the first half. Weston McKennie's hanging back and happy to have space in front of him. The touch from Reyna was just behind McKennie, so he had to control, then swivel and shoot on his weaker left foot. He couldn't quite get his head over the ball. It's our encouraging signs for the US.
Certainly a better and more attacking first 8 minutes of the second half. They started off brightly though in the first half, you'll remember. Had the best chance from Pulisic in the early stages of the game. As soon as the Dutch scored on 10 minutes, the game closed up as far as the Americans were concerned. But at the moment it's quite open. That's giving good opportunities for the US to get forward, although they play the ball through here looking for Rayner, but it drifts out of play, and Van Dijk, the captain, will go across to take it. He clearly has no intention of taking the throw-in whatsoever. The referee will encourage the Netherlands to get on with it. Dumfries will glare at him and shake his head as if to say, well, I've only just picked the ball up, ref, come on, give me a chance. But the actions of his captain before, meaning the referee wanting the Dutch to speed things up, and now they do, and they break away with Gakpo down the right-hand side in towards Bergwijn. He tries to find Gakpo again, but good tracking back this time from Anthony Robinson. Although he's under pressure now inside his own area, but he extracts himself from the challenge of Bergwijn. In the end, the ball is played up towards the halfway line when Musa picks up possession. He didn't really have any impact on that first half at all in those central positions, Musa, but he's now finding more space. You can see that the movement is much greater from this American side straight away, but Ream is muscled off the ball by Bergwijn. The referee's giving a decision there against the Dutch striker, and I think he's a little bit hard done by. I think Ream had got underneath that ball.
Yeah, Steve Bergwijn there, it looks quite confusing. That's why I was with you there. I thought it was poor positioning by the American.
Ball forward, looking for the angled run of Weah, but Ake gets his head to it. It'll drop on the right hand side again, where Timber will have to try and tidy up, and he gets there before Pulisic and plays the ball down the line, but only finds Robinson. His passing side towards Adams is really poor though, and it turns the Leeds man around before he can find the Fulham man in Robinson again. He tries to thread the ball looking for McKennie down that left hand side, but Virgil van Dijk is there just to ease him away from the ball. That's better from America again. They're finding some spaces, finding some gaps potentially away from that Dutch defence, but Van Dijk quick to close the door on that occasion. Ball is back with Andreas Noppert. Looking at the stats for the two goalkeepers just before the game in terms of shot stopping we've seen from them, and Noppert, one of the best performances from that point of view from any of the goalkeepers throughout the group stages. Turner just on the cusp of an average performance from him, and I think it's no criticism of him in that sense. He's had a decent performances in the group stages, but has certainly been a standout star amongst the goalkeepers in the first few stages, or first few games I should say, of the group stages. Ball worked out towards Blind left hand side, looks inside as Koopmeiners comes in through that central position again. For the moment, they're just a little out of sync as they try and get possession of the ball and reassert their authority on the game. Still leading by 2 goals to nil, of course. 57 minutes on the clock. So it's pretty comfortable for the Dutch. They don't have to force the issue. Koopmeiners again looking for space forward, but this time it's America's turn to be well drilled across their central positions. Of course, they have to get the ball off the Dutch. It's It's just drifting a little bit again like it did in the first half, isn't it? Really strong first 10 minutes from the Americans, but then the Dutch reset themselves and are now starting to pick up possession in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
They are, aren't they? And while it'd be wrong for the Dutch to look past the Americans, I was just having a look at the Dutch's disciplinary record. Only Nathan Ake and Matthijs de Ligt got a yellow card previously. So they might want to have a look at maybe giving Ake a rest. And on the bench, didn't cover himself in goal in the first game against Senegal. De Ligt, but you feel the way the game is ambling on. The US need to make a change. It's going to make an impact, and somebody's going to pick up the ball and drive, because the Dutch are just uncomfortable when the ball's in their box, but otherwise very, very comfortable even out of possession.
Yeah, Reina off the bench at half-time, of course, for the Americans, but hasn't really been able to get into the game at all. There'll be a free kick here, little tap on the ankles of Pulisic, sends him to the floor. Virgil van Dijk appears on our screens. There were a couple of players around him at the time. It was Van Dijk who had a little poke out at the ball, didn't really get there. A fairly obvious free kick for the referee Wilton Sampaio to give. Central position, but a long way out from goal at this stage. Referee indicating he wants the Americans to wait for the whistle. A rush from America to take it as well. Pulisic certainly lining up as though he might fancy a strike, but it's a long way out, Jack.
It is a long way out, isn't it? But we saw with Mexico Wednesday evening, it can be hit. Chavez with a strike on that occasion. Pulisic's run up suggests he's going to cross rather than shoot.
Yeah, he's got a little closer into the ball now. Ream and Zimmerman are on the right-hand side of the line as the ball is chipped in towards Zimmerman, easily headed away by Van Dijk. Still not out of the area though. It'll be picked up by Dest. Goes one-on-one down the right-hand side, waits for Weah to come across. Weah picks up possession, back to Adams. Still plenty of players to aim at in the centre, with Adams with the ball in, but Van Dijk is there. Powerful header away, with 5 American players all round him. It's the orange-shirted captain who heads the ball away, but America back into it again. There's going to be another foul here. Again, it's a challenge on Pulisic. This time, the yellow card will come out, and not real complaints. Cube Miner's only been on the pitch for 15 minutes, but already into the book. And pretty obvious, that one.
Yeah, fresh off the bench and fresh into the book. Yellow cards are wiped out, aren't they, for the quarter-finals? So
yes.
It's not necessarily a big one, but he's not left himself with too much. I remember in the first game for Belgium, Amadou Onana got booked after 5 minutes of coming on off the bench, and he missed the final group game because he picked up a silly yellow card in the second match as well.
We've seen 1 or 2 silly yellow cards, haven't we, over the group stages, so let's hope for no more. As, that one was pretty obvious. Referee left with not much option. As the ball is whipped in by Pulisic, missed at the near post by Reina as he tried to flick it on, and therefore the Dutch are able to clear out of the penalty area. And they've got a chance of a break here as Gakpo picks up possession. It should maybe have gone left, but he went right instead to Bergwijn, who's closed down well by Robinson, and that's tidied up eventually by the Americans. What was a very promising position for the Dutch as Adams tries to step in. He loses possession though on this occasion. Gakpo picks it up again. Will try a shot from the edge of the box. It comes back to Gakpo again, who tries to turn. Shot comes in. Good save from Turner. It was above him, but he had to push it away as Depay with a snapshot from just outside the area. But a good, comfortable save from the American keeper.
Good quality tonight, hasn't he? Depay, his chances have been few and far between, but it always seems to, like, may have just been skirting over, but the goalkeeper didn't want to take the chance. He tipped it over the crossbar just to make sure. Going back to it, when the ball went to Bergwijn, for me, Dumfries was in if he'd gone left there. Gakpo, he's going to take the corner kick.
He takes it short on this occasion. So Depay will have it, whips it in towards the near post. McKennie though with a simple header, but he doesn't really get it away, and it's lifted back in by the Dutch, and the Turner's got underneath it, but he does well to recover. I think he's given a free kick anyway, the referee has. I'm not sure how much contact there actually was on Turner from Van Dijk. Turner again getting rather underneath the ball as it drifted into the penalty area. A little bit over anxious, the American keeper, to get there to it, but he recovered very quickly. 62 minutes on the clock. Netherlands 2, USA 0 as it stands. Both the goals coming in the first half in identical positions. Depay and Blind racing into the area and putting curling shots past Turner. It's the Dutch who have possession with Blind, one of those goal scorers. He'll go backwards on this occasion to O.A.T. You can see that the Dutch now want to reset to where they were before for the majority of the first half. In possession, facing away from their own goal and comfortable in it as well. They try and come forward, and when they do, losing possession a little too easily, I would suspect, for Louis van Gaal's liking, but they've managed to force the ball forward on this occasion down the right-hand side. Dumfries comes into the area, players collide, two players end up on the floor, one from each side. One's Dumfries, couldn't see who the defender was as he came back. But anyway, referee says no foul. Play continues as Weah has it now, driving down against Ake, edge of the penalty. He comes back inside, his shot is blocked by Van Dijk, and it'll come into midfield again for the Dutch to turn the ball forward up towards Depay. He gets away from one challenge, but too many white shirts around. We still see the players. Dumfries then who's hobbling back. It must be who's hobbling his way back after that earlier injury to try and get back in as America come forward. He'll make the challenge now. It's on Pulisic, so he doesn't quite win the ball. Unfortunately, others do, and the Dutch will clear downfield.
I'd be interested to see a replay of that. It was Anthony Robinson getting back, and well, Dumfries, the momentum had gone, but it was clearly, I'm not sure how much of the ball Anthony Robinson got, but it looked like Dumfries had turned and they collided. It was accidental, but it still put the Dutchman off, and he seems to be not moving as smoothly as he'd like. The tall Inter Milan defender. The ball still hasn't gone out, and there was a couple of moments there, a couple of Dutch players were kind of like looking at the referee to wait for him to make the decision. Maybe we'll get a clearer look when the ball eventually goes out of play. If I was the US, though, I'd be keeping it in for as long as I could.
Yeah, absolutely. There does come a point where you wonder how far back you can go here as the ball is played across on the angle again. It's looking for Dest. The ball will now go out of play as Blind wins the header. Referee is going to wait because there is going to be a substitution anyway for the Americans, so that will stop play at least for a minute or two, and will give them potentially a little bit of time to have a look at the just trying to see who's down actually here now for the Americans.
I think it's Robinson.
It's Robinson.
Yeah, he's involved in that incident with Dumfries, but obviously they're happy. Dumfries, you can see they're remonstrating with the Brazilian official. He has his head in his hands. We can't actually see his head, but we see his arms moving about, and he suddenly clasps onto his face. Robinson, this could be the end of his World Cup. He's clutching at the left-hand side. We're going to see it again. It's almost Dumfries who fouls Robinson, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just legs get tangled, don't they? As both players are coming across. I don't think it's particularly a foul either way. It's a sort of one for Dumfries and for Robinson as well, because they both end up getting caught and both end up on the floor. We did see Aronson on the sideline. Looks like he will be coming on for America, and I think you called that in the first half, Jack, the kind of player that America need to get possession of the ball, drive this Netherlands defence at pace.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if Robinson goes off, who would be the replacement, because they've got an absolute dream lineup of right backs. Joe Scally, Andre Yedlin, Sergio Dest is obviously playing, and Shaq Moore. We've all got Yedlin and Moore. I've certainly seen minutes in this competition, but no real obvious. Maybe Tim Ream goes to left back and Carter Vickers goes to centre half. Aronson will be a good player to come on, and Haji Wright's got something different. Plays his football in Turkey. Started the game against England. Only scored one goal internationally, so hoping to get a second. We're seeing Robinson. And there's also that extra dilemma of his World Cup's over. You almost fall into your default of he'll have 2 weeks to get ready for pre-season, but of course no, he'll be straight back into it. Boxing Day, Fulham play next.
Yeah, absolutely. The Premier League season back straight away the week after, as we see the substitutions now will be made. Aronson we'd already mentioned. The other one, it looks like, is Wright, who will come on as we get the confirmation of the changes. Tim Weah is the first one to head off, and disappointed, you could tell, coming off the field, but he's had a real in and out game, hasn't he, so far, Weah? It's no great surprise that he'll go off. Slightly more surprising if it's McKennie who's the one that is leaving the field. It seems to be, as McKennie will head off as well. So yeah, McKennie is the other one. Weah and McKennie are off, and Wright and Aronson are on.
Yeah, I think Musa would have been the one I'd have taken off if I was Greg Brown to the three midfield players. Just breaks down on the edge of the Dutch box. Koopmeiners does well because De Jong had lost at the ball. Koopmeiners coming across and clearing it away. Serginho Dest will take a speedy throw, 1-2 between himself and Musa. Inside is Giorena, strong challenge though by Daley Blind, who then has the strength to win that challenge and the composure and class to play it to a teammate Gakpo that go forward and play it over the top, put Zimmerman in trouble, and it'll be Dutch throw just inside the US half.
Yeah, ball out of play on this left-hand side. No real urgency, as you would suggest, from the Netherlands to get the ball back into play. It will be Blind who will finally take the throw in. There are one or two spaces starting to appear, of course, as the Americans have to push forward, just leave gaps potentially at the back for the Netherlands to exploit. But so far, the Americans have just managed to shut the door every time the Netherlands have got forward. There's going to be a foul here, challenged by Aronson. His first tackle leads to a foul on Timber, who pushed himself into a more central position. So 68 minutes gone, Netherlands leading by 2 goals to 0, and Jack will see whether that is our full-time score as he takes you through to the end.
Yeah, thanks Steve. The winner of this game going on to play with Argentina or Australia. You can catch their clash at 7 o'clock this evening on this service. France against Poland 3 o'clock tomorrow, and England against Senegal at 7. This World Cup, as far as the football action's gone so far, it's been a good game too, as Cody Gakpo looking to become those Dutchmen scoring 4 straight World Cup games and lose out this time on Paul Forster. Half-time sub Steven Bergwijn in the Netherlands with Ajax after a decent spell at Spurs. Right, make his way into the side. Dumfries turned all the way by Zimmerman, that was positioned by the American centre half. Can't really get out at the moment, the US. Out for a throw, Dumfries will take it. In fact, Julian Timber will take it. Back to Virgil van Dijk, who's looking quite an isolated figure in his own half there. Not as much maybe as Nopper, the goalkeeper, though, who gets involved with long clearance. He slipped as he struck it, but still made it into the US half. The ball just fizzes about initially to Anthony Robinson, who seems to be moving okay after receiving that treatment. Now Dumfries down the right hand side for the Dutch. He's going to have a go here, and he's done very, very well. It's an untidy but successful challenge by Robinson. Dumfries happy to let it go out though, and the assistant referee points to the corner kick.
Yeah, it was good defending in the end. You could see a little bit of nervousness I felt on that occasion from Robinson. He didn't quite want to engage as much as he could, and maybe would have done earlier on in the game. He kind of held off, but then made a decent challenge in the end. So it was a good bit of defending over time, but I still think he was a little nervous because of the injury.
Van Dijk and Ake come up from the back. They attack it. It's Van Dijk who gets the ball. Head in his hands. He thought he should have done better. His header loops over the US crossbar. Matt Turner wants to get on with it quickly, but just delays. Suggestion to a teammate, suggests that's the right idea. Serginho Dest picks it from deep. It's quite an interesting role that Daley Blind is almost man-marking Dest. I think from the point of view that if he knows where Dest is, when Dest has the ball, or America have the ball, he's got his man. And when the Dutch have the ball, he's not quite sure Dest's going to follow him, and that was the case for the second goal. 2-0 to the Dutch. Koopmeiners goes for goal, saved by Turner. What a save, second time around. Maybe Memphis should have been a bit more clinical. It was a diving header. Potentially a touch over elaborate there from the Barcelona man. They should have smashed that into the back of the net. I think if it was 0-0, it would have been 1-0 there. It was a comfortable chance. Being too clever though, Memphis. Looking for the second goal of this game. Steven Bergwijn back to Koopmeiners, who threads the ball into Dumfries, who helps on Memphis again. Good goalkeeper. He's played well actually, Matt Turner. Smothers the ball, doesn't let the pie get onto it.
Yeah, it was good reactions, wasn't it? As you say, he didn't quite get the power on the second shot. Maybe he should have done better with the first one if you're being harsh in that kind of scenario that wouldn't have then led to the second opportunity. But when it did come, he was very sharp to make the save. We see it again here now. Good shot from distance, just tight on Depay probably just onside, maybe, as the ball came back to him. But as you say, header straight away. He was up with the left hand to push the ball away. So not the best defending from the Americans again around the edge of the box. They've struggled to pick up those secondary runners, haven't they? They've got the first players tidied up, but they've not really picked up the second ones. That led to the 2 goals and that opportunity then again as well from the edge of the area.
Daily Blind was about 20 yards away from Serginho Dest there. Dest was almost in a central position, and Lint was unmarked in the US box. It's worked back to Aki and now Virgil van Dijk. Just carve the ball around Pulisic. A few arms being raised by the US at the moment. Qualified from Group B, big win against Iran on match day 3, I suppose we'll call it. Third match. Draws against Wales and England. 16 in 3 of the last 4 World Cups, certainly the last 3 that they've qualified for, missing out in 2018. I think 4 years now as they build towards the World Cup on home soil in 2026. A big couple of years actually for sports in America. The Rugby World Cup's actually 2027 in the US, isn't it? As Gio Reyna cuts inside off the right, goes for the goal, was left way wide, similar to Serginho Dest, but this time it beats the corner flag. It will be a goal kick. I was just thinking there, will he get a big name coach? Because they talked about Eddie Jones taking over the rugby union side. Greg Berhalter's done a decent job for me. Kind of rescued them from the doldrums, I think. Missed out on the last World Cup.
Yeah, I think you look at kind of what he's got available, and at the moment there's probably not a lot more he can get out of this team. But as you said, you know, a young, vibrant side, if you can keep it together, they can keep progressing. You know, another couple of players come through from the younger ranks as well, potentially. So there's a lot of potential in this side, but it's who can unlock it, as you say, moving forward and take them into a position where they would be far stronger at the next World Cup and through the tournaments in between in the conference over there as well. So, there's a mistake here though, a chance.
Yes, and it's Haji Wright who's in behind. He goes for a goal, but Denzel Dumfries does well to clear his lines. Haji Wright, it was just one of those where his first touch took him away from goal. Couldn't do much about it. Head in his hands. It's from Memphis Depay, who knows it as soon as he plays that ball. It's the wrong one, but well played Denzel Dumfries. He's played well going forward in this game. Equally well defensively there. There's just going to be a delay before that corner kick. It's going to be a substitution. Christian Pulisic can't believe it. It's actually a US change they're going to make. It's going to be Serginho Dest to come on. And DeAndre Yedlin, a familiar face to Premier League fans. He's going to make his way on to the field. Yedlin winning his 77th cap. A relative veteran at 29 in this side.
Yeah, he is. Do we class Dumfries as an off the line there? I suppose we do, second time.
Do we class that as a shot on target, I suppose, as well?
Just about.
Haji Wright was straight onto it, but he was just going away, wasn't he? With Pulisic in down the right-hand side. Floats it across the goal. We've got a goal for the USA. It's Haji Wright. Was his touch the last one? I'm not quite sure. Nathan Aki was behind him, and Haji Wright has certainly made a difference since coming into this game off the bench and from cruising. The Netherlands have just had a poor 2 or 3 minutes there. Pulisic with the initial ball in. Aki, comfortable header away. Memphis again with the error. Trying to flick it on. DeAndre Yedlin, the substitute. First touch is a good one into Pulisic. Not quite sure how that ends up in the goal from Haji Wright, but it does.
I have no idea how this ball ends up in there, as you say. He's facing away from goal. Looking at it again, it flicks off his foot as he tries to pull it round and just loops up in the air and somehow drops over the line. Depay can't, rather I should say, Dumfries can't get it off the line. And it comes, well, I think it may have already been over the line actually. It does come back on the post, but from the angle that he's at, I have no idea how it gets from his foot into the far corner. Haven't got a clue. Somebody with a physics degree, I need Brian Cox to have a look at that, because I think that's gone through some kind of bend in the space-time continuum.
It's one of those where he does play at the ball, doesn't he? And this might be going a bit over the top, but if he meant that, That is arguably one of the greatest goals of all time, because he flicked it, the ball, he used the momentum of the ball, he flicked his foot underneath it, and somehow looped it 11 foot up in the air over Noppert, who's only quite tall, as right in again. Noppert's going to come out. Good save by the goalkeeper. Where does the ball land? Between a couple of US players. And Cooper Miners will just hammer it down the line. The Dutch now leaving 3 bodies upfield. Good goalkeeping by Noppert. I had to be vigilant there, but the game, as I should imagine, has now got a different view to it. Aronson's gone down, potential high foot against De Jong, but the Dutch come forward. Bergwijs in behind. He should have taken it a touch to his right, because he would have passed the goalkeeper, could have finished with his left. He tried to do a Haji right and play it with the outside of his right foot past the goalkeeper. It was a wrong decision though.
Back to your earlier point, there's no way Wright meant that to drop in the far corner. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not saying he's not trying to score, but he's certainly not trying to score that way as the ball comes across. But anyway, he had the opportunity there, and again, just not picked up, is he? Netherlands, just over the last few minutes, when they've lost possession of the ball, they look a little bit ragged. And again, some of it's down this left-hand side, isn't it, which we talked about before, with Blind going walkabout a little bit, not quite picking up players as sharply as he should, and therefore the opportunities came in that first period on the odd occasion that America really pushed that side.
Pulisic goes for goal, comfortable for the goalkeeper. Well, the Dutch haven't been behind in this tournament, but the closest I suppose we've come to this situation was against Ecuador. They took the lead after 6 minutes. Ecuador were really good in that game, finally got an equaliser after 49, and probably should have gone on to win the game. There are questions, as we said, about the Dutch, stretching back, I suppose, to the last Euros, where they were in control throughout the group stages, apart from a bit of a flutter against the Ukraine, where they got a winner in the end. But against the Czech Republic in the last 16, when they went behind, the plan fell apart, and the key now is for Louis van Gaal, his coaches, Virgil van Dijk, Daley Blind, those kind of players, is to solidify it, and it looks like they're going to do exactly the opposite, because that's Xavi Simons who's going to come on for his debut.
Yes. Wasn't the first name I would have looked at on the list and gone, yeah, okay, he's the man who will come on. But hey, you know, it is maybe fresh legs and something different, something that the Americans can't really have prepared for to some extent or expected in this game. And maybe Louis van Gaal has just dug in and pulled out an ace here to try and change the dynamic of this second half.
Ball in by Robinson, away by Julian Timber at the near post. It'll be interesting to see who would come off for Siemens to come on. A creative midfield player, so you'd imagine he'd almost go into that front three, which would suggest that Gakpo, maybe there's doubts over Memphis Depay's fitness. We're almost into the final 10 minutes of the first of the 8 last 16 matches at the World Cup in 2022, and it's all the US. They trail at 2-1. Corner kick from Pulisic towards the back post, and Noppert. That's catching practice for him. It's Paul. There's no real venom on the ball, and he uses all 6 inches of his height to get up there and grasp it out in the air and bowls it out. Lovely technique. Just sat down in what your golf ball to as it fell to Daley Blind. Yedlin's back there. He makes interception, but the Dutch around 30 yards from the US goal, going right to left in the second half. Memphis Depay on the edge of the box, has a little foray inside. De Jong wide to Blind, who's unmarked. Dumfries is unmarked to the back post. He finds him, and it's 3-1 once again. The US fullbacks fall into sleep. If there was going to be another goal in this game, you thought it was going to be an American one. What a ball in by Blind. What a finish by Dumfries. What poor defending by the US.
Shocking. Absolutely awful defending at the far post. There's nobody within nearly 10 yards of Dumfries on that far post for no apparent reason. He just wanders in from there. You see him on the replay. He's miles away from the penalty area. He just walks his way forward. He's waving all the time. Hello, look, I'm here. Blind can see him. Nobody in a white shirt even looks round and sees where he is. It's a good finish, we'll give him that, although actually the replay comes a bit off the shin, but you know, he gets himself into the right place, steers it into the far corner, but that is absolutely awful defending from the Americans again, it's got to be said, and they've just handed this game back to Netherlands on a plate.
International goal for Denzel Dumfries, 41st cap. Daley Blind had so much time there, and the way he struck that, it was almost if he was in training, wasn't he? He was so relaxed, and you give a player of his quality that amount of time. It doesn't work out for you. I said it was Xavi. Seems it may actually be Jeremy Frimpong who are now going to bring on the former Celtic player, now of Bayer Leverkusen. Some US fans. No, it is Xavi Simon. My list of squad members. Xavi Simons comes on for his debut at PSV these days. Had spells at Barcelona and PSG. A boy wonder, a bit of a prodigy, and excited to see him actually. As a previously an avid player of a certain managerial computer game. I know a lot about him, but I've never seen him play.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of those that's come up in terms of the stats that we see for him, isn't it? An intriguing player for this. And as you say, a wild card one. The change was going to be made anyway. They'd gone through all the. I think Depay started to run out of steam a little bit. So again, I think it's another one of those substitutions that's maybe looking longer term here from Louis van Gaal. He might feel that his side not quite sealed it. You wouldn't say that the way the second half has gone, but with so little time left, makes it much easier. Depay is looking a little bit frustrated on the sideline by one or two things, I think, in terms of what's happened, particularly the goal I suspect that they conceded. But from an attacking point of view, Netherlands have been pretty efficient. There's not been too many chances actually created by the Dutch side. Just looking at the stats against shots on goal, only 6 of them, but they scored with 3 of them, and that's what you want in these kind of tournaments. Is you're not going to get piles and piles of chances in these knockout stages, so you've got to make sure that when they come, you put them away.
A bit of a Rory over a free kick there. The Dutch weren't allowing the US to take it. Free Wout and Sampaio out. You mentioned too much in this game, which is usually a good sign, isn't it? Just diffused. Simmons gets his first touch, gives it away. Tyler Adams marking space well, intercepts. Gio Reyna's got a chance to find Aronson, the Leeds man, breaking down the right-hand side. 1-2 between those two. Was that a handball against Nathan Aki? He looks pretty unperturbed. There's no sign that the system thought much of it, as Simmons is then fouled by DeAndre Yedlin. They got the wrong side of his man. Free kick to the Dutch on half-way line. And Frankie de Jong will take it eventually as he moves towards the ball. Plays it first time wide to Denzel Dumfries. Another quietly efficient game. Frankie de Jong, you wonder what kind of mindset he's in at the moment after not playing too much at Barcelona. Used to see the Spain team for their first game against Costa Rica. Saw 3 Barcelona midfielders in there and thought, I'm not going to get much game time after Christmas, am I? No. Because they've played ever so well, haven't they? But they've got a testing match against Morocco in the last 16.
Yeah, one of the wild card teams through, isn't it, really, Morocco? But yeah, very impressed by them so far. Certainly won't be easy to ball through here. Again, looking for the run of right. Van Dijk this time is quickly across, but has to concede the set piece. But again, the Netherlands just switching off for a moment or two, and I think that will be the frustration for Louis van Gaal, that his side should have shut this game down a lot better in the second half, which they did really successfully in the first 45.
Christian Pulisic sits towards the back post. Tim Ream wins it. It comes to Walker Zimmerman with the overhead kick. Took a while to come down. He struck it okay. His effort was well wide in the end.
Yeah, he could have actually done with a little bit less on it, couldn't he? Because there was a couple of players potentially at the far post, although nobody was really attacking. When you look at it again, 3 or 4 American players all static inside the penalty area as Zimmerman went for that. It was fairly obvious what he was about to do, so why not attack that far post and hope that you can get a header in? And maybe, had they done so, there might have been the opportunity for a second goal for the Americans. But that's drifting back to how they played some of the first half, isn't it? When they were more passive than more reactive in that sense when something happened, rather than being proactive around the penalty area particularly, and that led to some potential chances disappearing.
Yeah, there's certainly potential in this team, isn't there? But still a bit naive, you feel. 4 years to work on that. The World Cup will have a couple of Gold Cups to play in between then too, as Gakpo as well to be lucid to the ball. It's all a bit of a mess as Aronson actually comes away with it, and then he's clearly fouled by Frankie de Jong, who's the second man to go into Mr. Sampaio's notebook. I said the USA were naive. That's the opposite of naive. That's professional play, shall we say?
Absolutely, totally cynical, as you say. Starts to pull away. I'll just take him out. It's knee high. It's not even subtle, is it? But again, it does the job. There's 5 minutes left. Really want your players picking up yellow cards in tournament football, but I suppose on that occasion, well, you might look at it and say, with a 2-goal lead, was it really worth it? I don't know.
Well, I suppose the only problem is he picks up another yellow card in the next 5 or 6 minutes, because that's his first of the competition, so it should be all right. Get white for the quarter-finals. Rayner saunters into the box. Haji Wright, a wonderful goal for the USA. And the captain, Tyler Adams, now Rayner again. His best since going at half-time, but struggled a bit now. Xavi Siemens, so a man to his left in Bergwijn. Bergwijn now Ajax, of course, picks it up. Nice little Cruyff turn. Then another one to get away from Musa to Siemens. Now De Jong. Daley Blind, who drops the shoulder and then goes away from Wright, but Wright does well. Way back to Aki, and well in control now, you feel the Dutch. But if you're Argentina or Australia, their potential quarter-final opponents, next batch of games, I'm not sure I'd watch the whole game as my analysis. I'd watch the 5 minutes with 2.5 either side of the US scoring, because they just lost concentration totally, didn't they? The Dutch for that 5 minutes. Otherwise, it'd be pretty good as Musa gets in, Aki away.
Yeah, you take the performance overall. Really strong first 5 minutes or so in the game from the Americans. Really strong first 10 minutes, second half. Strong around, as you say, either side of the goal for 10 minutes as the Dutch switched off. The rest of the game has predominantly been run at whatever pace the Netherlands side wanted to play at, and they've dominated the possession in the right areas at that time and being clinical in front of goal. So it's been a very efficient performance overall from the Dutch, although, as you say, there are one or two sort of gaps in the armour that have been highlighted.
Yes, attempting to give them today. Into the final minute of the 90, waiting for the additional time as Xavi Siemens finds Bergwijn down the left-hand side. He'll have a run at Walker Zimmerman. Between a couple of defenders, it's eventually into Bergwijn. He somehow gets through. Simmons wants the shot but plays it to Bergwijn, who gives himself half a yard and slides in. Anthony Robinson, he was offside as Bergwijn. Anthony Robinson very well to block the shot. Are we going to get 4 or 5 and give US maybe a bit of hope? Tyler Adams sweeps it wide to Gio Reyna. Seconds tick by, the Dutch get back, and the US look to have run out of steam a bit. Pulisic, he's got an interesting January coming up. I'm sure he's got too many minutes in him left at Chelsea, but Manchester United linked with him over the last few days. Musa to Robinson. Musa again, 6 minutes have been added on. He played in the game when 6 minutes have been added on, but surely it's going to give the team trading a lift.
Well, a little lift, I think. If you were 2-1 behind, you're into a totally different ball game. But at the moment, I'm just looking at the American side, and the problem that I've got is that one or two players seem to think, well, we're just not going to do this now. You kind of see Adams, you look at Pulisic, they're not as active as they have been in this game. Ball into the area, Ake will head it away. There's a little bit of walking pace from the Americans now, and I think some of the faith, certainly for the last 10 minutes of the game, has sort of drifted out of the American side, unfortunately, in this kind of scenario.
They look a bit tired, don't they? And mentally fatigued as well as physically fatigued.
I think that's more the issue at the moment, actually. I don't think the physical side of it is the problem. I think it is just that it's happening again to us, that we're not going to get through this stage of the tournament, as Robinson will go off. Jordan Morris, I think it is, who's coming on, a striker who will at least push forward and give them another option for these last couple of minutes. There is still time, but at the moment I don't think there's any confidence in this side that they can achieve the magical turnaround. But as you said, you never know. There's going to be a couple of changes for the Dutch as well, just to tick on a couple of minutes from them in this game.
Yeah, let's see how Sounders man comes on to give the US an option going forward. He's chased to an early ball. Pulisic gets in ahead of him. Looks like Wout Weghorst and Matthijs de Ligt are going to come on for the Dutch. Whip ball in by Musa, away by Aki, who's been excellent in this game. Gakpo will deal, battle and duel with Zimmerman. It's a numbers game in the end. The US can go back to Matt Turner. Now Jandre Yedlin might be playing the left of a back three, I think, in the closing minutes of the game. Musa now turns inside, but that was open for him to go down the line. Simmons will match him, but then dive in, and Musa's got a chance at the byline to maybe pick out a teammate. He tries to find Aronson on the edge of the area. The ball well read by Frenkie de Jong.
He's no Dumfries, is he? Let's put it that way, because that was basically the same spot that we had the first one from us. We see a replay again of Yedling sticking a foot into the back of Ake's head as he was laid on the floor just on the sideline. A little bit naughty from the American player, but it is Ake, I think, who's one of the players who will now head off as de Ligt comes on. Gakpo will be the other one. He's worked hard, hasn't really had too much around the penalty area this time, has he? Unfortunately for the man who's in such good form in the group stages. Well, Weghorst will come on, and again, that's just solidifying, really, isn't it? Just a bit of insurance from Louis van Gaal for the last few minutes of the game.
Bit of a smile from the 71-year-old coach there. Second World Cup he's coached at. Of course, I'm into 2014, missed out on 2002 when his team failed to qualify. The ball coming again from the right hand side. The US pushing for another goal, trailing 3-1. Comes to Musa on the edge of the box, shots into the ground. It will be Tyler Adams who picks up the pieces, though. He's kept going. Zimmerman, he gives it to Aronson. Aronson can open his body and whip a ball in. He cuts back onto his left foot and then tries to go on the outside of Blind, who just uses experience, seen it all before, stood his ground and toe poked it away.
Yeah, just find a way of getting it away, isn't it? Not give a cheap ball into the penalty area, not give the cheap cross. That's been the main thing from this Dutch side when they've been defending well and been defending sharp, is they've done the simple things well.
Yes, to the byline is Rayner towards Haji Wright. Couldn't quite get his body over the ball. Now the two 22s will do battle. Andre Yedlin and Denzel Dumfries. Yedlin comes up with it, and the ball is played back towards Yedlin, and Dumfries steps across him. Makes it for a throw, Yedlin to take it. Asking for the options, but there's too many helping him out. It's fizzed into a teammate. It's up in the air. Rayner with the outside of his right boot, and de Ligt barges someone out the play, out of his way to get a touch on the ball. Right on the left-hand side, doesn't beat the first man. And, Tim Ream will have to go all the way back to Matt Turner. Was he caught by Wout Weghorst? And one of those, it's too late for the assistant to step in. We're into the final minutes of the additional 6. Netherlands 3, USA 1. Now Simmons breaks down the left-hand side. Decent cameo, the young PSV player, 19. He's all four by couple miners towards Bergwijn, way too strong. As one guy looks on disapprovingly, shall we say. The US trying to play out from the back as a handball against Cooper Miners, who, for a man on a second yellow card, that was a risky one because he may have been fouled, but he raised his arm towards the ball. Greg Berhalter's heading back to his dugout probably to collect his things. As you've got to say now, with seconds left to go, it's end of the road for the US.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. You know, again, it's not a bad performance at all from the Americans defensively, though. You know, the three mental errors that they've made in that sense, with not picking up runners, not picking up players at the far post, have led to the Dutch goals. And I'd say the Dutch have been clinical and efficient around the penalty area. And, you know, you look at it, you wouldn't fear this Dutch side, but you would certainly be concerned about facing them in the next round.
Yes, you will, and they are the first team through to the last 16. Some really well-worked goals, we'll say, for the Dutch. They weren't totally clean throughout the game, but Strikes and Depay, Blind and Dumfries have seen them to a 3-1 victory. Haji Wright with the goal for the US, who are heading home, but for the Dutch, It's either Argentina or Australia next time out.